my name is Sharon Coleman. I am the host of the Perfection of Rejection show, how to finally overcome your perfectionism and get shit done. And I am here today with Roberta Hoskie. Roberta has gone from being a single welfare mom as a teenager to becoming a successful real estate investor and serial entrepreneur. Her rags to riches story has been seen on news channels across the nation. And in 2017, I didn't write the number down right. In 2017, it was that you established the Millionaire Mindset Sisterhood, an international faith-based sisterhood devoted to breaking the curse of poverty. So welcome so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Sharon. I appreciate it.
It's really good to have you here. I reached out to you because your story really connected with me. Because I was a single welfare mom when I was young, not quite as young as you, but I was too, and breaking that poverty curse is really near and dear to my heart as well. So tell me a little bit of your story.
Oh, well, right now I'm the presidency of Outreach Realty Services, which is a full-service real estate brokerage licensed in Connecticut and New York, and I'm working on an expansion plan right now where we'll have licensing in all 50 states across the United States of America. I'm excited about that. President and CEO of Outreach School of Real Estate, which is a licensing school for real estate professionals who want to get into the real estate business. Managing member of MET Construction Management, which is a construction management company helping to rehab properties using FHA 203K loans. And I'm the the president of Outreach Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization, advocacy for affordable housing and homelessness. And last and certainly not least, the chieftain and the founder of the Great Millionaire Mindset Sisterhood. But here's the thing, before I had any of these titles, before I created any of these businesses, before I made impacts, before I made any of my first investments, I was a single mother, 17 on welfare, getting $417 a month. I was extremely poor, found myself in a homeless situation, and I had to save money to get a bicycle to go to and from school. The buses became too expensive. I remember heating my house with the oven because the heat was off in my apartment. See, my son I gave birth to him, and it was the love as a mother that made me change my life, because I really looked at my son, Sharon, and I was like, what do I have to offer him? And when I looked at my life and being a high school dropout at the time, and his father's life, who was heavily in the streets, I realized that I didn't have anything to offer him except generational poverty. So I decided, and that's the operative word there, decided that I was going to figure out how to create an environment for my son to prosper. But along the way of trying to figure out for him, God had a plan, and both of us prospered. I was able to break the poverty curse. First investment yielded me over $250,000 in real estate when I was only making $9.14 an hour, just removed from welfare, and was sorting mail.
Wow.
So life has been a journey. And what I've learned about life is that there really aren't such things as problems. So I love the title of your show. There really is no such thing as problems, because if you really look at it, Sharon, in the end, if you learn from it, in the end, if you become a better person from it, is it really a problem, or is it a learning lesson? Is it something that's going to develop you and make you into a better person, a stronger person, a better characteristic? So I look at life that way. So, the journey has definitely taught me a lot, from poverty to prosperity, from welfare to truly well.
I love that. So tell me a little bit about the mindset stuff that you had to work on, because, I mean, you're coming from generational poverty, I'm assuming so many of us are. What did you do to work through that?
I kept my son before me. So what I realized is that I would have given up on myself. And so I do realize that a lot of us, when we're trying to win this battle of our mind, that we have to make life bigger than us. We have to have a big why. Like, why are we here? Why are we pushing? What is the existence? What are we fighting for? And for me, there was no other reason other than the love of my son. See, I understood I gave birth to a Black male. and I understood the statistics that were against him. And so there was no plan B, there was no plan C, there was no plan D. The plan A is that I have to provide. The plan A is that I have to be an example. The plan A is that if I didn't produce, I really had a high percentage of me losing my son to the street. And so because of his environment, so there's a big thing about a made up mind. Now, one of the things that I had to fight is self-sabotage. And many of us and many of the viewers and people that are listening right now, I know that we battle with self-sabotage. I just told you how my first real estate investment was over $250,000. But what ended up happening is that I was sorting mail, and let me tell you, Sharon, I was the best mail sorter you ever want to see. Like, I could sort mail frontwards, backwards, in my sleep, blindfolded. Like, I took pride in sorting the mail because I understood that it was a stepping stone, right? But I'll never forget the day in sorting mail that there was a big neon piece of paper, and it belongs in every box. You know how you have like just a residence box, it didn't have a name on it. And then there was a stack that was left over that I just put on the side of my mail carriage. But I've always been a nosy in person, or inquiring minds want to know. So something was just drawing me to this piece of paper. And so I grabbed the paper. I felt like I was stealing something. Like I felt like something was wrong, but I grabbed it and my heart was beating off of a piece of paper. Right? And so I run to the bathroom and I open up the piece of paper because I didn't have anything in my name. Nothing said Roberta Hoskie. So I opened up the piece of paper and it said, first time home buyer seminar. And I closed it. And my heart started beating and beating and beating. See, that moment right there was a divine moment. See, I had no idea that I would be a real estate guru and teach people all across the world how to invest in real estate and break poverty and create millions. I had no idea. But the mindset thing that I had to deal with was my self-sabotage. Because in that moment, I was 20. And I was telling myself that you are too young to own a property. Who do you think you are? You just started working here. You're Black, you're female. Nobody in your family even owns a house. Who do you think you are? You still get food stamps. So I was self-sabotaging myself out of the opportunity that transformed my whole life. And so I had to slow down and I had to really think and say, no, I want this. And I want this for him, for my son. I had to make it bigger than me. So I continually live my life that way. Life has to be bigger than me. And when we talk about mindset, so you never have to wonder what a person would do if you understand what they're thinking. See, I was self-sabotaging myself. So of course, it just makes sense for me to sit in the back. Because in my thought process, I wasn't worthy of being there. So I went and I sat in the back, still battling with the mindset. See, everything that you think about dictates the actions that we do. And so that's why my action was to sit in the back and act like I didn't belong, because that's what I thought, right? So I'm having this internal conflict, and nobody in that auditorium looked like me. No one was my age, no one was my color, and only a few of them were my gender. And I had to keep thinking this was not about Roberta, but this was about my son not living in the projects, not living in subsidized housing, not experiencing and trying to shield him from what I experienced in life. So that's what I had to learn. And what I did learn over life is that in order to win the battle of your life, you must win the battle of your mind. It is impossible to do one without the other.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. Wholeheartedly agreed. So you're a very inspirational speaker. I'm so moved listening to you. I am so moved listening to you. So it's been a theme that's been going on throughout this show is it's more about stepping outside of ourselves and having a purpose that's outside of ourselves. So my question is, have you always been spiritual? Have you always been very faith-based? And did that play into those decisions back then?
If I didn't have something higher to pull on, I would have lost my mind. Period. I can't, in this interview, there's no way I can explain to you the tragedy and the trauma that I've experienced in my life. Matter of fact, I have a book coming out, The Poverty Curse is Broken, and it talks about my growing up. It talks about abuse. It talks about so many traumatic things that I had to overcome. And it had not been me pulling on a higher power. And I even talk about how my godparents, which were the people who took me out of the shelters, as a teenager. I was a teenager in a shelter, and I wasn't in a shelter with my mom. I was in a shelter by myself. Imagine a 14-year-old girl. Imagine her in a shelter by herself.
Can't have been good.
Yeah. And so my godparents, they came and they took me out of the house, out of that shelter, and brought me into their home and changed my life. That was the first time I ever saw inside of a single family house. I've never even been inside of a single family house. I never knew that a bathroom could be in a bedroom. I didn't even know that existed. I never knew that. Talk about frame of reference, right? But I also remember the first thing that my godmother said to me, she says, you know what, Roberta, I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what you're going through, and I don't care what you've been through. You are destined for greatness. You will change lives. You are destined for greatness, and God is going to use your story for his glory. And I'll never forget that, because that was something that was spoken into me when I was in a dire situation, and I didn't really understand it at the time, but it did something inside of me. You ever have something happen in the inside of you? You couldn't really understand what was happening, but something shifted in the inside of you. What she did was planted a seed that I had to hold on to. And oh my goodness, she did not lie. I have touched so many people that I cannot number. The Millionaire Mindset Sisterhood is an international sisterhood, not just in the United States of America, not just in Connecticut, not just in these states, but we just rose a Dominica DR chapter with over 300 women that don't even speak my language.
That's awesome.
But because, as what you're saying, Sharon, I believe in a purpose bigger than me. I believe that women all over the world need to work together in unity. I believe that women, we are the strongest force that God has made. I believe that we are made in his image, and there's some magical stuff that happens when we get together. We get, and I don't cuss, stuff done.
Yes.
It's amazing. We make the impossible things become possible when we're at one accord. And so part of the big mission of the Millionaire Mindset Sisterhood is to unify women all across the globe, understanding that we together are powerful, and that the division is only a device that will neutralize our power. And also understand the power of group economics. See, I understand, I live and breathe real estate and investing in real estate that changed my life. I've made millions in real estate. I was a homeless girl catching buses, and one of my companies has housed over 6,000 families. So you got to understand the transformation that has happened in my life. I don't think for a half of a second that God allowed this to transform in my life for me to keep this to myself. The reason why you're so intrigued by my story is because God puts his anointing on it. It puts something that just draws people in. Something that I can't do, I can't control, and I didn't give it to myself. But it's all about being in line with the universe and living in purpose and doing that thing on purpose. And when you really tap into why God allows you to live, things become different. And for me, I understand that there's women out there all across the world that are powerful together. For me, I know that group economics is a way that we could beat the poverty curse. A sisterhood just acquired a real estate project, and we pooled our resources together, and now we're getting dividends, streams of income, which we would have never gotten alone.
There's definitely something about the power of women, and women in business. We approach it so differently than men do, and we approach it so much more of a sense of community and lifting each other up. Yeah. Rather than competing and fighting and, killing it.
That team win, no.
Right. There's definitely a different energy, I think, when there's a community. And if you're in business and you don't have that community, find one, because it makes a huge, huge difference to the success of your business, for sure. I could listen to you preach, sister, all day.
Preaching, I'm just talking.
but you're very moving and very inspiring.
Thank you.
And I appreciate it. So do you have any words of wisdom for this audience who, maybe sometimes get stuck in their own minds and in their own heads and their own thinking, which is what keeps us stuck from getting our stuff done? I won't swear because you don't swear.
Oh, listen, I hear all the time.
I'm sure.
So, words of wisdom. What I would say is that there's greatness in you. And I will share the same words that my godmother shared with me, is that you are destined for greatness. If we ever realize that problems aren't really problems, things change. So it's a mindset thing. If you learn from it, is it really a problem? If you become a better person, is it really a problem? So too many times we fixate on the negativity, and whatever we fixate on magnifies. And so that negativity begins to magnify. So my advice is to shift your mindset. You have control of what you think. Nobody can make you think anything you don't want to think. You have control over it. In times where we start looking at negativity and the things that's going wrong in our life, I challenge you to take time, slow down, get in a quiet place, close your eyes, and just imagine the good things. Imagine your future. See your future through the inside of you, not the outside of you. What is the inside of you showing you? Where are you in the inside? Live outside of your imagination. I learned that in your imagination and where you dream of, there are precursors to where God wants to bring you. I used to imagine the house I live in right now. I literally imagined this house, the house that I live in right now. Years when I had nothing, when I was homeless, I was imagining the house I live in right now. You have to see past your problems. You have to see past it. You have to see past it. You have to see solutions. You have to see hope in hopeless situations. You always have hope. You always have something else that you can focus on. Nobody can make you think anything you don't want to think. You have control of that. So focus your mind, think positivity, and always see past the situation.
That is some very, very good words of advice. I understand you have a free gift to give to the audience today. Did you want to talk about that?
Sure. What I wanted to give is a recording that I did about the mindset. And I talked about the power of the mindset to be able to break the poverty curse. And so I have that as a recording to anyone that goes and subscribes to connectwithroberta.com. Go to connectwithroberta.com and we will send you that video, mindset video, how to break the poverty curse. And it's a powerful, powerful video.
And we'll have a link to that below the interview on your page.
Great.
Well, thank you so much, Roberta. I'm inspired and moved completely. You are an amazing speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I appreciate you taking the time, and I appreciate you reaching out to me as a blessing and an honor.
Definitely. Thank you.